What's up, everyone? This is Brandon from Wealth Potion here, and today I want to riff with you a little bit about open-mindedness and why I believe that it is the most important skill for you to cultivate in 2024 and beyond. So let's dive in. First, for a little bit of context, we need to look at what 2024 is and what the modern era really looks like compared to the rest of history. And there's a couple things that I think are really obvious. One, we have internet, social media, and now AI. Because of that, the amount of information at our fingertips is increasing exponentially. It is no longer important to have knowledge. It is much more important to be able to discern what is good from what is bad. Or as Naval Ravikant puts it, judgment. I'm going to play this really short clip from a podcast interview he did with Joe Rogan to really illustrate this point. Watch in this clip as Naval points out that judgment is the most important skill set. I'm going to build on this and I'm going to argue that open-mindedness is actually a prerequisite to judgment. Here we go.
We live in an age of infinite leverage. What I mean by that is that your actions can be multiplied 1,000-fold, either by broadcasting at a podcast, or by investing capital, or by having people work for you, or by writing code. So because of that, the impacts of good decision-making are much higher than they used to be. Because now you can influence thousands or millions of people through your decisions or your code. So a clear mind leads to better judgment, leads to better outcome. So a happy, calm, peaceful person will make better decisions and have better outcomes. So if you want to operate at peak performance, you have to learn how to tame your mind, just like you have to learn how to tame your body.
Now, the key quote there is that the impacts of good decision making are much higher than they used to be. That's essentially what I was saying earlier. With all of the information at our fingertips, it's no longer about who can acquire knowledge, but how you make decisions based on that knowledge. However, he goes on to argue that a clear mind is what leads to better judgment, better decision making. And in order to have a clear mind, he says, a happy, calm, and peaceful person will make better decisions. Now, this is really what I want to talk about today. How does being happy, calm, and peaceful actually lead to better decisions? That's something that Naval doesn't really elaborate on, at least in this clip. He kind of touches on it in the rest of this interview with Joe Rogan. It's a very long podcast, but I highly recommend it. It's one of the best episodes of the Joe Rogan podcast, in my opinion. But my argument here is that a clear, happy, peaceful mind leads to someone being more open-minded, which then leads to better decision-making. What is open-mindedness at the end of the day? It's really your ability to consider if you are wrong and to take in new information and discern it. It's really your ability to exercise judgment. I'm sure you're seeing the effects of closed-mindedness in your life. If you go online, if you go on social media, maybe you have friends or relatives that are so stuck in their ways. They just see the world in a particular way and they are not going to change. Perhaps that's frustrating, perhaps you've just accepted that, but that's an example of close-mindedness, and that unfortunately is becoming more and more common. We have all of this information available to us, and so just like it is easier to find good information, it is also a lot easier to find information that just validates our own pre-existing beliefs. You have to exercise that muscle. You have to exercise your judgment muscle, as Naval puts it, or as I'll put it, your open-mindedness muscle. You have to always be questioning, maybe I'm wrong about this thing. Maybe I need to change my view. You might be wondering, what does this have to do with wealth, Brandon? Isn't this wealth potion? Well, studies have shown that open-mindedness, or as the psychologists would put it, openness to experience, is one of the big 5 personality traits, and it is one of the only personality traits that has a positive correlation to earnings. In other words, studies have shown that the more open-minded you are, the more money you will make across your life. And that is just one of the many benefits of being open-minded. And so if you're questioning what this has to do with wealth, there you go, there you have it. It will make you more money to be more open-minded. Now, last but not least, I want to touch on how to be more open-minded. Now, I'm not perfect, and I don't claim to be perfect, but over my lifetime, one thing I will share is that in every big decision I've had to make, I can say with utmost confidence that the more open-minded I was, the better the outcome of my decision was. Almost in every situation that I can think of. I think that's a definition of open-mindedness, that by opening yourself up to more possibilities it allows you to better judge what's the right path for you. I want to share with you 6 questions that I ask myself often to make sure that I'm being open-minded. And by the way, just like going to the gym or meditating or practicing your faith, this is not something that you can just do once and then it's accomplished and poof, you are open-minded. This is accepting that this is a new way of life for you, that this is an active process that you will continue to do for the rest of your life. If you want to get fit, you are a person that goes to the gym. If you are a person of faith, then you try to become closer to God and you read the Bible or whatever that is for you. But it's not something you just do once. It is something that you are actively pursuing, and being open-minded is no different. So when I share with you these questions, this is not something that you can just ask yourself today and then forget about for the rest of your life. These are questions that I ask myself often. So here they are. Number 1, what if I'm wrong? It's the simplest one of them all. Consider the possibility that you are wrong about what you believe and what you are saying. Number 2, what would have to be true for me to reconsider my opinion? This is a really powerful one. It's not accepting the fact that you are wrong, but it's imagining what would have to be true, what facts would have to exist for you to then reconsider your opinion. It's a very important mental exercise. Thirdly, where did I get this belief? This is also extremely important because not all of our beliefs came from ourselves. They're not things that we came up with completely on our own. In fact, you could argue all beliefs are influenced by our external environment. So where did you get that belief? This question follows into 4 and 4a. Does this belief serve me, and does this belief serve someone else? In other words, was I led to believe this thing by a third party that has an interest in me believing this thing? This is a more difficult one, but it's really important, especially in modern society where we're constantly being sold things. And I've touched on this in a previous video. We're constantly bombarded with advertising and sales and subliminal messages that there are always people vying for our attention and for our dollars. And we need to constantly ask ourselves, am I being led to believe something that doesn't serve me, but in fact serves someone else? The 5th one, can I steel man the opposing argument? Steel manning is a phrase that you may have heard before, but it's related to straw manning. It's the opposite of straw manning. A straw man is when you're debating with someone and instead of attacking their argument, you put up a weaker version of their argument and attack that instead. And that's, think of a straw man. You're putting together a straw man because it's easier to refute that argument than what they're actually saying. So a steel man argument is the opposite. Put together the strongest possible argument for the opposing view. I'm just going to pick a random thing. This is not to get too political, but if you believe in the death penalty and that it's right, can you put together the strongest argument for why someone would be against the death penalty, as opposed to just attacking the weaker arguments for why the death penalty is bad? That's a very difficult exercise, and it requires you to do research and really put thought into what the other person is thinking. And last, but certainly not least, which is related to the last question, am I using any logical fallacies in my argument? Now, I'm not going to go through all logical fallacies in this video. You can find them on Wikipedia or on Google, but a straw man fallacy is just one of dozens of different types of logical fallacies, and they're shortcuts that we often use when creating arguments that we don't recognize ourselves that are inconsistent with rational logic. Perhaps the most egregious and most dangerous one is what's called an ad hominem fallacy, which is where I'm not actually attacking the argument, I'm attacking the person. And unfortunately, I'm starting to see this is becoming more and more common in today's society. So there's a whole list of these fallacies that you can find online. Really make sure that you are not using those fallacies in your arguments, because that would then mean that you do not have a strong foundation for your beliefs. So anyways, that's all I wanted to cover in today's video. I hope that this provided you with some tools that you can use to become more open-minded and practice open-mindedness. And perhaps most of all, I hope this communicates to you the deep importance of open-mindedness, especially as we move into a more technologically advanced future with more and more information bombarding us every single day. So anyways, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.